Thanks, Vibhu, for this introduction. The topic that we're going to cover today is driving ROI for cohesive cloud management. And I do have with me eminent panels, Mohit, Iyer, and Piyush. And over the next 30-35 minutes, we'll focus around in terms of how this topic is relevant to the different industries and what's the path that each of the customers have actually taken. Before I hand it over from a discussion perspective, I just wanted to give you few insights in terms of how customers have actually looked at accelerating the cloud journeys. The pandemic obviously has made a lot more of changes in terms of how the acceleration is looked at. So if I look at how the cloud is being leveraged for digital transformation, I really look at from four pillars in terms of how the changes are. There is the first pillar where cost efficiency is being a big driver in terms of really looking at what the benefits that cloud will entitle. But more importantly, I have actually now been party to many of the conversations where we are looking at business agility in terms of how quicker and how faster that you are able to actually get your business being looked at from the lens of a transformation. So that's the second pillar that we are actually really looking at from a return of investment. The third is about in terms of the operational resiliency, how fast and how quick you can actually ensure that you are able to have efficient operations that your industry is really going through. And the last, and but not the least, but that's something that we've actually seen is the innovation. How well you're avoiding the disruption in your own industry as well, right? So these four pillars are driving towards a lot more of acceleration of the cloud journeys. But more importantly, as customers have actually embarked in this journey, many have got it right the first time, but many have also had the lack of discipline in terms of not getting it. So the recent Gartner report that I saw on some of the areas where cloud wastages have actually been there, where it was more around about, I would say, $26.6 billion this year was done on cloud wastage. And this is all about not doing it right in terms of whether it is an idle resources, whether it is the over provisioned resources that are cloud resources that are there, or whether you've actually really not been able to drive unattached cloud volumes, right? Now, these are all some of the areas where it actually starts impacting the return of investments. So what I would probably take now is to get through this discussion, and I'll probably invite Mohit and ask Mohit in terms of how does he see from the lens of his own industry. And more to you, Mohit, in terms of what you feel are the right areas of how return of investment can actually be achieved.
Thank you, Ram, and thanks, Vibhu. I'm looking forward to the discussion. So Mahindra Group is a conglomerate, and if you look at the 7-8 large industries we are in, that include automobiles, used cars, electrics, as well as SUVs, farm and agri, logistics, real estate, finance, holidays. And amongst all this, we were predominantly a shop front dealer branch driven model. And all that has changed in the last 18 months or 2 years and accelerated to the future. And the future is already here. So we, at the group level, we have set 4 simple priorities. One is to focus on accelerating digitization or digitizing the customer journeys and employee journeys equally. That they have to be quickly reimagined for simplicity, to drive an outstanding experience, and for high UI UX, customer and employees alike. So that's one. Second is to use data and AI wherever possible to make the decisions, whether they're big decisions or small decisions, what color SUV to make, where to launch it, how do you know the holiday maker is enjoying the holiday? Could be anything for that matter, right? And AI and machine learning with good quality data can solve many of these things which we were doing either in the field by customer touchpoint physically or by using Excel files, whatever else. So there is acceleration on that realm. Third is modernizing our stack for better ecosystem play, for better connectivity into adjacent partners. And last but not the least is to be aware and drive data security and data privacy and cybersecurity. So if you look at these four objectives for the group over the next 2-3 years, the cloud fits in very well because it helps accelerate and build resilience, agility, and a secure offering across all these 4 layers. And on your particular question around how to go about it and where have we seen efficiency and the wastage part you brought up, I see it in three steps, not necessarily in a sequential manner, but the way we are focusing on it, we are using the cloud for either optimization or modernization or innovation and transformation. 5 years ago, in case we would have done that sequentially to optimize our footprint, virtualize highly, shut down data centers, go to the cloud, use infra as a service in a big way, then do modernization and do refactoring and re-engineering of the stack and APification, do API, microservice, etc. And then use the cloud services like, modern computer vision, AI, analytics, etc. for transformation. But now we don't have the time or the choice to wait 5 years because the future is here. So we're doing all 3 of these together. And automobile industry, since that's where we predominantly play as well, auto and farm and tractor are ripe for using the cloud for modernization and transformative ideas, whether it's connected car or our software stack in the cloud for electric vehicles, or our used car platform with First Choice, which is a Mahindra offering, or even autonomy and safety. So just over the weekend, we unveiled our new top of the line SUV offering, the XUV 700, and that has ADAS. And in that category, the first car to have ADAS. And ADAS is all about connected car and making the car safer and more intelligent with lane assist and many other features, which are all there. And you can read about that. But to me, none of those would be possible 5 years ago if the cloud were not there. So long answer to the question, I think the return on investment is on focusing on the customer and using data and AI for making the right decisions and not do infra as a service lift and shift. And hence you're right by saying it upfront that for most companies it's a hybrid journey, and for us as well. So it's multi-cloud as well as hybrid in nature, because what makes most sense to go to the cloud first is engineering loads which are refactored or re-engineered fully for the cloud for efficiency, because there is an ecosystem to be formed, there is a platform to be developed, there is a data lake to be used, and those are the good ones. Or even in the farming, lots of good use cases already being developed in tracking the tractor, onboard devices on tractors being able to send us data from onboard, which can be used for helping the farmer take many decisions around the tractor, including computer vision, machine vision in farming itself, where we have an app already available where you can take a photo and it'll tell you what infection is running, what pest has done this issue, or what infection is running in sugarcane or any other plantation, and even suggesting what pesticide or organic and inorganic chemical to use. Again, many of those use cases are because many of those things are running in the cloud, intelligence in the cloud, and now with 4G almost being pervasive, it is already a game changer even in rural India. So it's not a urban SUV only, it is all over the place, and that's helping us accelerate financial inclusion in Mahindra Finance, making holidays safer for holidays, logistics more timely in logistics, building greenhouses in real estate, and having a connected car experience in automobile. And all of this is kind of powered by the cloud for us, and it's already on the cloud. So all the modern use cases are directly starting on the cloud, And then there is the other as well, the 3-step process I spoke about. So we see it all coming together, and it's on high acceleration because the customer is setting the pace for modernization. The customer is already, living in the digital world. So that you can't pace it over the next 5 years. It's required to be done now. And so that's how we're prioritizing it. So thanks for that.
Absolutely, Mohit. I think so. You hit it right. That it is not about IaaS, right? But it's really looking at how your industries have innovated, right? And the kind of use cases that you brought about, especially with data being the king, right? And in terms of really looking at customer experiences in many of the industries that you talked about, automotive, the agriculture, as well as in terms of finance and how you actually really look at it. This will even more accelerate with 5G coming in and with edge being the key component of the change that is there. And absolutely, and many of these are something that will actually only help you to be more agile and more receptive to the changes of how the end customer changes are going to be there. And I think so you made most of these points very, very relevant. Let me go to the next one, obviously in a very different industry. And obviously this is to you, Iyer, in terms of from a media, from a publishing, and how your industry is actually really changing. And there is a lot more changes that you would have seen in the last 18 to 24 months, right? And over to you, Iyer, in terms of what you feel are the way you have actually adapted cloud to get the best ROI.
I can just say ditto to whatever Mohit said and and leave it to and hand it over to Piyush, because that's exactly more or less what we've also gone through. Traditionally, so I've worked in television most of my life now, over a couple of decades. I'm part of the Times of India Group, Bennett Coleman and Company Limited. I really can't speak on behalf of other companies, but that Bennett and Coleman Times Group is in newspapers, probably the biggest in the world. We have Times Internet, which is, I think, certainly one of the biggest in the world in news and information, with their dozens of properties, and certainly the biggest in India. That's a fantastic digital presence for us, as a country, for one of our homegrown brands to be at that global scale. And we are, of course, I head tech for Times Network, which is the TV division, traditionally the TV division of the Times of India Group, but now we are Times Network, not just television. We rebranded our digital, presence initiative to connect more with the digital customer. We always had a very good social media presence, but we also, launched timesnownews.com, and now we have, many other products in the digital domain. So we have this whole concept of a consumer 360 initiative, where we look at our viewers, our consumers, who are our ultimate consumers, on all platforms, across TV, across our digital platforms, across social media platforms, across platforms of aggregators, wherever we get information from. The biggest challenge of aggregators is we never know who's consuming our, there is no direct connect with customers in that case, as is the case with TV as well. But the digital space gives us a great visibility into what kind of people are, who are watching our content, what kind of content is useful. And we are now trying to use that information to tailor the programming we do on TV, right? And make that more relevant and attractive. That's a daily habit for us to feed the TV production system with insights from the digital space. So those are the transformations that a traditional TV, satellite TV, live news, environment or production houses going through. This has been a journey for us for the last couple of years now. I think we are now beginning to understand the things that we need to do to get that insight kind of better. I wouldn't say that we are at a stage we can say, oh, we know exactly what to do or what consumers are doing. Consumer tastes are also changing, right? Consumer behavior is changing every day, and I'm sure Mohit and Piyush will attest to that, especially with the kind of content we produce. News seems reactive, right? Something happens and then we do it. We don't have the luxury of planning out content for most of our products. Of course, we also run movie channels, for example. So there is a whole algorithm-based decision making on what movies to run when. right? Based on the title or the older popularity or its presence over across, competition channels also is taken. So that kind of data crunching is done on a daily basis to create the list of the movies that we will show on our different channels. So this whole play of digital is now pretty much an integral part of traditional satellite TV news or a producer, and is the case with non-news people also. Within the Times Group, we have radio, we have newspaper, and of course we have big internet, we have out of home. All of these businesses are impacted by digital, and therefore by extension they all have a case and a need to use cloud where it is required. Now, speaking for our own business, TV business, traditionally all media, and I know I can speak for all media, not just television, newspaper, radio, and post-production, like for OTT, what you post-produce, you post-shoot, everything was, needs people on the ground, equipment in places. You're collecting stuff, you're putting it together in one place. You had infrastructure dependencies, you had locational dependencies. Like they're all factories, right? I mean, you factory where you assemble a car, that can be done on the cloud. You can help the car manufacturing process by managing that process somewhere, but the actual thing has to be done on the cloud. But in the case of media now, with the advent of IP-based production, that has completely changed the scenario for all media. Practically everything that you used to do on-prem, except go in the field and shoot with a camera, you can do on the cloud now. In fact, I'm very proud of this. I keep mentioning this. I keep looking out for opportunities to mention this to anyone we can. We probably run the most successful POC of a completely live newsroom system for television news in the world. As far as we know, we haven't really come across anyone who did that. We did this in partnership with one of the major cloud providers. So that was a great achievement. But there are it's a journey. It's a little bit away. For me, when we launched our digital product, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It was a no-brainer. I said, we are not bringing this in-house. This is going to be customer facing. We're going to have unknown traffic, unknown loads. So we need the scalability the cloud provides. We need the resilience the cloud provides. We need the growth the cloud can provide for this product. So we just put it on the cloud. There was there was no thinking around it whatsoever that we should have anything other than people working in-house. So we also have that hybrid journey. It's been baby steps. In some cases, we just said, like I said, in the case of a digital product, we just said nothing in-house, everything is on the cloud. It made absolute sense for us, right? But for the other traditional, systems and workflows and processes, it's steps. There are now technologies available. They are not 100% integrated in a mixed mode operating environment. In many cases, it's either on-prem or on our cloud. In some cases, there are ways of finding balances for some processes which you can extend to the cloud and run from there, and use the newer technologies to integrate with the older ways of working where you didn't have those capabilities. For example, to describe a video, if I were to describe every shot of a video,
I just want to correct a time check. So two things, if you can just conclude, right? And I'll hand it over to Piyush as well.
Yeah.
Was more focused around, obviously you talked about a hybrid journey and also in terms of the changes. If you can probably in a minute to conclude it, right? And more focused around in terms of where have you actually seen the best ROI coming in for you?
Yeah, I'm coming there. Yeah, I'll just wrap up with that. So as I said, the biggest ROI was for us to look at our consumer-facing businesses where we had a direct consumer connect, and those we immediately put on the cloud because those really benefited from everything that a cloud has to. And this is a public cloud, right? So for this business, we just had a public cloud. For our own other traditional businesses, we have a mixture of public plus private cloud setups, and that seems to be the way forward. And the biggest ROI, as I said, was instant scalability, instant always on availability, and the best possible user experience for our consumers.
No, thanks.
So the biggest ROI points for us. Yeah.
Thanks, Ayar. I think this proves in terms of the burst scenarios, in terms of video traffic and others, right? In terms of how you've actually leveraged it. Piyush, to you, right? Obviously, this is an industry that's gone through the real churn in the pandemic, right? So how has your industry really embraced, right? And what's the changes that you have actually seen? Probably, if you can just take the next 3-4 minutes in addressing that, and then probably we can get to the next stages later. Piyush, over to you.
Sure. Thank you. I think very relevant points by Mohit and Ayar. I don't want to repeat them. Absolutely bang on. Mohit talked about the 3-step process. Ideally, if there was time, we would have the luxury of going through the 3-step process, but no longer because the customer has moved on. I think I really liked the phrase, which I also use, that the customer is already ahead of you. Yeah. As an enterprise, and every enterprise, actually non-digital native enterprises, are doing a catch-up game. And in that context, I just want to kind of bust 3 myths around cloud. Yeah, and that would be very relevant for your audience. One is identify what the objective of the cloud is. And typically people look at, oh, I don't have to manage it, and hence I will save cost. Absolute myth. Yeah, it is not going to happen that way. Second, you will save cost by moving to cloud. Absolute myth. I don't think these are the right drivers that any enterprise should look at while defining that cloud journey. And third, predominantly people believe that anything I put on the cloud suddenly becomes agile and suddenly becomes innovative. Absolutely not. If you put a wrong application on the cloud, it is not going to give you any ROI, any benefit of any sort for your customers. And hence, it is very important for you to define what the objective of that cloud transformation journey is. It could be modernization of the stack, but just modernization of the stack is not going to give you the ROI. Yeah. While the CIO or the CTO and the digital officer might get a lot of pat on the back saying that, yes, you did a cloud transformation, so what? So for a retail industry perspective, and as you rightly said, this is an industry which is impacted. I think in my view, what we are seeing is that the digital transformation path, which we were supposed to be predicting in the year of 24-25, we are already seeing now, which means that the acceleration around digital transformation is already shrunk by 3 to 4 years, which means that the customer has already moved on, but the enterprise is still catching up. So we need to make sure that we are ahead of the game, and hence you will not go wrong by taking in any application which are customer facing. Yeah, take the customer facing applications, make sure that you are placing it close to the consumer so that you can learn from it. And that is where I think Mohit brought about 2 points, which I think are the key fundamental pillars of your cloud transformation journey, is around agility and around innovation. Yeah, your ability to be agile and your ability to innovate are much faster in a cloud, but make sure that it is done in the right way. Make sure that you are building the platforms so that they are closer to the consumer, and you have a feedback loop. So what cloud provides is very fast feedback loops. Unlike in traditional monolith applications, where your feedback loop, your ability to change, your ability to deliver those changes to the consumer is so limited, and hence you're not able to get a feedback loop. You work on a feature for 6 months and then deploy it, and suppose the customer does not like it, all that 6 months effort is gone. So what cloud provides is your ability to be agile, ability to take in small MVP features, roll it out to the customer, learn from the customer, because customer is ready to give feedback today. And that is the power of the real cloud. The real cloud in retail context is place it near the consumer, learn from the consumer, have the feedback loop from them, and then you will be able to see that kind of double impact of ROI. Why people are not seeing ROIs? People are using it as an infrastructure as a service, saying that I don't want to have an infrastructure team in-house, so I will outsource this. Absolutely wrong. And I have seen many, and you talked about cloud wastages, right? I've seen many customers who have done that. Now I think when they look at the bills which are coming through the cloud, they are really scared. And that is where the reverse journey has already started. And in a lot of enterprises, the reverse journey has already started, in which I know one big, I think it was a real estate giant, I cannot name them, but I think 2 years back, they predominantly, somebody sold that a large enterprise monolith application to be hosted on the cloud. Within 3.5 months, The story was good, PPTs were good, ROI calculation on the paper was good. Once the bill started rolling up in terms of the entire enterprise cloud, which was enterprise application, which was put on the cloud, the CFO was really berserk. And then within the next 6 months, they brought that application back from a purely hosted cloud application to the on-prem application. So make your choices better. Make sure that your objective is not to just modernize and save costs. Those are not going to come just like that. Make sure that you are customer focused. Make sure you are learning from the applications which you roll out, and then have a feedback loop so that you are able to judge the ROI and have a long-term journey towards this transition. Don't take knee-jerk reactions. Otherwise, it is going to be very costly for everyone.
No, thanks, Piyush. I think so. Since all of you have actually made certain very pertinent points, right? If I really look at summarizing all three, and then probably have the last minute to conclude to all of you, right? I see Mohit talking about that the journey is not about sequential, but the journey is about in terms of really looking at optimization, modernization, innovation, right? And really looking at how should we actually really leverage data and the insights, as well as in terms of really connecting the dots to make sure that you're actually trying to drive certain new business models. Very, very pertinent in terms of the right use cases addressed. Iyer made this point around in terms of scalability, burst loads, looking at how do we actually really bring together the nature of how consumers can actually really leverage the power of cloud, right? And be able to actually really bring the right areas. And Piyush, obviously, since you made the point and you were the last in the pack, but you also made a very pertinent point in terms of what's the right cloud strategy, right? To ensure that we actually pick the ones that are very prevalent in terms of what's right. What I also see based on my own lens and looking at all industries in the way I look at as a system integrator, and we've now changed the entire view of what I think about it is about an ecosystem integrators now, right? So you try to actually bring a different set of ecosystems to actually really put the right value back in terms of what should be the business value that you would be able to actually generate. And going back to the same fact that it is not about a public cloud, it is not about a private cloud, it is not about a hybrid cloud or a distributed cloud or an edge cloud, right? It is about in terms of how do you actually really leverage some of these areas in the right, I would say you should have the right proportions to take it before the ingredients is actually really made, right? And that will actually help you to taste better. So just about last a minute, I think so we have about 5 minutes left for our conversations to complete. If I just go back and do a rapid fire, right, to all three of you, right, starting with Mohit, in your view, what is the area that you would probably look at, right, as the right ROI that you want to actually educate to the audience here, right? Over to you, Mohit. Probably we'll go a minute for each one of you, if you can time it.
Sure. So I think I'll keep the answer very simple. For us, cloud is not a destination. It's a way to accelerate our digital transformation and drive digital businesses. So to me, the ROI is revenue. If you're able to, an outstanding customer experience. So if you are able to drive outstanding customer experience, which in short order cannot be done, in the old way, and hence working in agile manner. And it's hard work, actually. It's not easy. It's not lift and shift to the cloud. That doesn't get anything really. I think Piyush summarized it very, very well. Very soon you will realize that you're spending more money. So to me, outstanding customer experience, revenue is the business case maker. And if it doesn't align there, then I think better not to do it. You're better off in the current way. And hence it is a transformation agent and accelerator and not a destination, because getting there is not, the part. Being there and doing something different and working in an agile manner, which needs business equally. So it's not a tech CIO's job, only, or not a CTO's job only. Agility is about business and transforming the business equally. So to us, all coming together is the best recipe. And hence those are the loads we're going faster on the cloud. If they are coming together, if not, we're kind of treading with caution, and hence remain to be a hybrid operation. And maybe that's how our future will remain to be.
Absolutely, Mohit. Iyer, your rapid fire.
Absolutely same. For us, I think any businesses that gives us, any system, any platform that gives us a connect with the customers, as the cloud does for our digital business, for example, is great. We love that. We would love for our customers to have a good experience coming to our products, consuming and finding what they want. And for me, as a tech person, I think the biggest the attractions of the cloud are the ability to access newer technologies and try them out and apply them to my businesses much easily than I would otherwise in a traditional setup, and also have a slightly more secure way of working than I or my own small security team would ever be able to put in place. So those two, I think the ability to innovate faster, right, and try out new things, apply them to the business, and as Mohit and Piyush said, said a very important point, get that feedback loop going, right? Shorten the feedback loop. We can't work on waterfalls anymore.
Thanks, thanks, Iyer. Piyush, any last minute comments from you, and then I'll probably summarize it.
Sure, and I think one point which maybe we have not touched in the great level of detail is the enterprise change management. And what I mean by that is, how are you transforming your enterprise to a digital workforce? Until unless you are doing that, just doing a cloud transformation journey will not give you the ROI. So one of the things that people are struggling is that, I'll give you a very simple example, the tech function itself within the organization. If you are using the same old school infrastructure players or infrastructure resources to manage a cloud transformation, they will never be able to get the real value. So you need to bring in new skills within the tech function as well. And I think you need to bring in the ability of business to think agile. Yeah, and I think that is, to me, the biggest roadblock. Because what people, the CFOs look at numbers, so they would say, what does it cost? Give me a comparison between the old and the new, and then somehow that those numbers are very elusive, and people get lost in those numbers. So cloud transformation should not be looked at as comparison between on-prem and cloud. Change your enterprise, make sure that your enterprise is digital ready. Bring in new skills in the business, bring in new skills within the technology arm that you're running with. If you don't do these things, your ROI, whatever may be there on the paper, you'll never be able to realize that in your transformation journey.
I think so. Very, very relevant points in all the three panelists, and it's been a great discussion with all of you, right? So if I just being able to put it in one word, right? The return of investment is directly proportional to, in terms of what should you actually really get benefit out of the end customers, right? Data is the king. Leverage the data to the way you would like your businesses to be reinvented. You actually have to start reimagining and really looking at disruption avoidance as a means to actually get that. So if I just look at, we all have agreed on three things. The ROI is not about a lift and shift. It is not about a true IaaS. It is about really looking at business transformation and having, how do we actually really make sure that it actually assists and augments your businesses much faster, connects with your customers so that your customer experience and the NPS that you actually get out of your end customers will be very, very, very important. So in summary, cloud is a platform that can actually make your digital transformation faster. Do it the right, and once you do it the right way, you actually start getting the ROI. And it's been a great discussion with all three of you. Pleasure to meet all of you as well. And I'll hand it over to Vibhu and the team to actually conclude.